Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Supreme Court dismisses applications for review of its February 13 judgment nullifying the All Progressives Congress victory in Bayelsa governorship election. Army corporal fighting insurgency with Operation Lafiya-Dole Theatre Command in Borno State kills 4 of his colleagues and himself. House of Representatives asked National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons to publish names and pictures of convicted human traffickers. And World Health Organization confirms coronavirus spreading more rapidly outside China. Plus, we have business, sports and news from Abuja, the FCT. Later, international news from our London studios. Now, our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via smart TV platforms, Apple TV, Android TV, Fire, and Roku TV. Let's now go over to our Abuja studios where Mark Peogun Yusuf has some more stories.
Hello, Millicent. And we welcome our viewers to our Abuja studios. Let's get some more insight into our lead story, and that's the Supreme Court verdict on the Bayelsa governorship election. We're now being joined on the news at 10 by Mr. Rotimi Ogunweso, a senior advocate of Nigeria. You're welcome to the news at 10.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, there were a number of things mentioned in the judgment today. Which one of them was the most striking for you?
Perhaps I should quickly say this. Principles of law, which are routinely invoked and applied in our courts, are given different slants and needlessly hyped when it comes to political cases by politicians for their own selfish reasons. And I will say this, what the Supreme Court did today, they've not done anything or said anything new. What they've done is to restate the principles of law, which every lawyer ought to know. The Supreme Court is the final court, made final by the Constitution, the organic law of the country. Section 235 or so reinforces the finality of the Supreme Court. And as far back as 86 or 87, as I can remember, Supreme Court had consistently stated that it is a final court and its decisions are not subject to review. Or even if they will be subject to review in very limited circumstances. That decision, the Constitution make them final and they remain final. The decision cannot just be, you can't just approach them to overturn what they made yesterday.
You mentioned the political interpretations by the politicians, but shouldn't their lawyers have known better?
Well, that's a very, very good question. The lawyers ought to know better. The Supreme Court had consistently stated that we are final, not because we are infallible, but we are infallible because we are final. Any decision given by the Supreme Court, when any right vested in those decisions or in that decision remains vested, any rights divested remain divested. Any judgment given by the Supreme Court, your appeal only lies to the courts of heaven, where God has adjourned all sittings till the last days.
So what is the implication of today's pronouncement?
The implication of today's pronouncement, perhaps, for the lawyers, is it will remind us of our sacred duty to the courts and our obligations to the interest of justice, to the cause of justice. To the politicians, perhaps it's a warning that they should stay in their place. They've done so much damage that is incalculable, that you cannot estimate. Incalculable damage to the judiciary and by extension to the image of this country. You would not find anything that has messed up the Nigerian judicial system like political cases.
So do you think, in the face of the pending reviews that we know are still coming, do you think that perhaps lawyers will be forced to withdraw as a result of this judgment?
I hope they will take the hint. Having regard to the decision of today, I think I'll say a word is enough for the wise. Or it should be enough for the wise.
I was just about to say, will it really be enough? Or do you think that going forward we could see this sort of application for reviews again?
Application for reviews, you will find out that it is only in political cases you get this type of thing. Application for review are rare bets. Before the Supreme Court are rare bets, which hardly fly. And when they fly, not at this altitude. The application for review is not something you do lightly. It's something a lawyer will do with a lot of trepidation before the Supreme Court. You must also bear one fact in mind. The Supreme Court is not a trial court. It's a reviewing court. A trial judge has given a judgment. It goes through the Court of Appeal. 3 judges looks at it. Then, when it gets to Supreme Court by way of appeal, you find 5 or 7 people looking at it. They were not the trial court. What they did is they were acting in their supervisory jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction and so people forget that the Supreme Court did not decide the matter from the beginning. So it came to them by way of review. And having done their job, the Constitution, which is the organic law, made them final.
Well, it's a fine place to leave it. We have to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us tonight on the News at 10. Mr. Rotimi Ogweso is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the News at 10 tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Well, police in the Federal Capital Territory have arrested a suspect in connection with the murder of a staff member of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, the AEDC. According to a statement from the Force Public Relations Officer, Frank Omba, the suspect, Vitus Oputa, attacked and stabbed the victim with a knife on Tuesday at Pasali in Kabusa. He says the arrest followed a distress call from Kabusa Division that the suspect had inflicted serious injuries on 2 AEDC staff members who were deployed to the community on official assignment. The victim, identified as Ibrahim Haji, who had been stabbed in the chest, was rushed to hospital for treatment, where he was confirmed dead. Meanwhile, the second victim is still in hospital on admission, while the knife has been recovered as an exhibit. The command has commenced investigation into the incident, after which the suspect will be arraigned in court. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission has vowed to act against attacks on its field workers while on duty. This reaction is coming after a staff of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, Ibrahim Haji, was stabbed to death while carrying out a disconnection in the Kabusa district of the Federal Capital Territory. Condemning the act during a public hearing on the proposed tariff review, the National Commissioner in charge of legal, licensing and compliance, Mr. Dafe Akpeneye, asked customers to always explore the Commission's mediation mechanisms.
It is the Abuja leg of the nationwide public hearing on the proposed electricity tariff, with officials of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission in attendance. This is supposed to be a public hearing, but the turnout from members of the public is not impressive. Nevertheless, the Commission used the opportunity to warn against attacks on officials of the distribution companies.
We are entitled to receive safe electricity supply, but in getting that, the people who provide that service are also guaranteed a safe working environment. No one has the right to attack or harm any other person going about the cause of his job. If there are issues, the rules make grievance procedures where you can escalate to complain. No, you do not have the right to take the laws into your own hands. So this is a matter that the Commission will look into seriously and will issue a strong message to customers so that they are aware that this is behavior that will not be tolerated in Nigeria.
The coverage area for the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company include the Federal Capital Territory, Kogi State, Nasarawa and Niger States. It is receiving about 400 megawatts of electricity. The company believes the proposed tariff will balance the cost of buying electricity from generating companies.
Over the years, the tariff we receive, the wholesale tariff at which we buy energy, has gone up by, in our own case, our calculation shows 134%. But the tariff to the customer went up by 16%. This is a fundamental challenge. If you increase tariff, who will enforce the aspect of preventing exploitation? There is need for an enforcement agency that will ensure that distribution companies don't take laws into their hands. Before this thing will metamorphose into a problem where their staffs will be dying, that wouldn't be the proper thing. And I don't wish that will happen.
The NERC is taking steps to ensure a strict compliance with the capping system that has been put in place for the operators.
When the news at 10 returns, oil prices plunged 2% below Nigeria's budget benchmark as concerns over coronavirus drives fears of dwindling demand. That's on Business News. Do join us again.